Hi everyone, I'm Fernando and I'm the illustrator for AbyssalBrews. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the process of illustrating two of our homebrewed magic items, the Blade of the Battle Hymn and Paeon's Protector. We decided to show you the entire process, including the quick loose concept phase where Matt and I brainstormed ideas for these items. Since hymns are closely tied to religion, we chose to give these items a holy look. For the blade, we only did one design as both of us loved the first concept. Initially, I had drawn some hands around the blade as that evokes praise or lifting something up to the heavens. But once we tried it with wings, we both liked the shape and looked much better. Besides, the crossguard already has an almost identical hand pose that serves the same purpose. The crossguard is of course inspired by a choir, and I added musical symbols to the blade and pommel. Since the sword is a fairly thin shape, I decided to add ribbons for the background. It adds movement and dynamism to the image, and it's another opportunity to incorporate more music notation in the illustration, which really drives the point home of what this item does. I'm keeping the background very simple for these and other items. The focus of these illustrations is the items themselves. My job is to help the players visualize these items being used by their avatars. Adding any characters of my own would break the immersion. Having a simple background helps visualize the items in any context as well, not just when they're being used. There's not much more left to say about the blade, other than it's one of my favorite items I've ever illustrated. I think the visuals really help sell Matt's brilliant concept for this item, and I'm very pleased with how it all came together. Now let's move on to Paeon's Protector. The idea was always to have an item that worked together with the blade. Since the concept was for the shield to be able to act as a sort of enhancement to the sword's power, I got a little silly and played with the idea of having it shaped like an actual speaker. Matt immediately and rightfully shut down that idea. I always like adding a bit of humor to my D&D games, but Matt is right that having it be a literal speaker was much too silly and immersion breaking. One element that made it all the way to the final design was the opening at the top where the sword can sit and connect to the shield. You'll notice that a lot of these concepts have the same angelic wings I put on the sword. I wanted these two items to look like they always belong together, so I incorporated some of the elements from the blade into the shield. If you have seen the final design, you will probably also notice there's a lot more scribbles and details on some of these concepts. I felt that some of these additional elements ended up distracting from the lines and shapes that make up the illustration, and I decided to cut them. The concept of less is more is as true for art as it is for most other things. In these concepts, I'm mostly focusing on overall shape. Like with the sword, we ended up going with the first idea. I replaced the obvious speaker with a more interesting yet still round shape in order to still evoke the original subwoofer visual, and even though it looks more like a clock, you now know it's an homage to the speaker that was there once. I put some Roman numbers around the circular shape in the middle as well. In my mind, and if my paladin character ever gets his shield, these numerals will light up in order of how much charge the shield is currently holding, so they're meant to serve as a counter of sorts. I didn't want to impose that on players and DMs though, so I didn't include any of them lit or glowing on purpose. Two last things to notice on the shield are the different tones on the metal and the two semicircles I cut on the sides. I felt having the same color throughout was monotonous, and having a darker layer on top of the gray metal, combined with the added negative space from the half moons, make it more pleasing to look at. Both of these elements add detail and complexity without making it look too busy. Thank you so much for watching. I'm required by YouTube law to ask you to like and subscribe, but I won't tell if you don't. I just want you to be happy.